Hi, everyone. Daryl and I are here today with Ann Voorhees Baker and Mary Eileen Williams. Ann is a long-time internet marketing specialist, and she's also the creator of an incredible three-day retreat for women over 50 called Women at Woodstock. And Eileen is a career counselor, a speaker, workshop developer, and also has her own website and blog talk radio show, Feisty Side of 50, right, Ann? Right, Mary? Sorry, Feisty Side of 50. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're here today to talk about transition, specifically around careers and creativity and reinvention. And I remember my own moment in the car when I had left my last position, and I literally remember being at a stoplight and realizing that I was not going back to corporate America, that I just could not. I would rather go to 7-Eleven and work as a cashier, although there's nothing wrong with that, than actually go back into corporate world, even though I had really loved my career and had some amazing experiences. I remember that moment, and there's no going back. So I wanted to ask all of you, Daryl included, if you had that sort of pivotal time when you knew it was time to move on and try something new.
Well, my pivotal time actually was when I got cancer. And it was totally accidental, but it was something that I hadn't ever considered doing, and I became an artist through trying to get rid of my stress when I had cancer. And so I discovered a whole new aspect of myself, and I became a mosaic artist. But I would say that, more to the topic, what we're doing right here with Whoa, for me, is a pivotal moment, because it's really doing what I love the most, connecting with people, and it's something that just felt, I just woke up one day, I've been doing so much writing, and I felt that I really missed the human connection. And so, in a way, this is, for me, Whoa is that. Whoa is really my pivotal shift in my path.
Right, right. How about you, Ann?
Well, I too have kind of a personal story, because I started out as a lawyer practicing environmental protection law, and my pivotal moment was also personal. I was pregnant with my first child. I was on the fast track for being a real yuppie. I was going to have the baby in the summer, go back to get an advanced degree, get the nanny and all that, and I ended up going into preterm labor, and I lost that first child.
Oh.
And after that, I could not have the plan that I had before. I ended up leaving the law because I knew that if I went back, I would end up, in a situation where if they say to get on a plane and go, you go, and I would have nannies, and I stayed home. I started a magazine for parents, and it just became much more family focused, and so I've been going along for years, and for me too, just as with Whoa, this Women at Woodstock that I started last year has been a pivotal kind of coming back out into the world and wanting to rejoin with other women my age who are going through what I'm going through.
Right, right. It's incredible. We seem to have this yearning at a certain age. For some of us, it's 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. It doesn't really matter. But so many women at this age, really, Eileen, we talked about this the other day, really have this yearning to try something new or to reinvent themselves.
Well, I have to say I am a big fan of menopause. I am a champion of menopause. And as we all know, the ratio between testosterone and estrogen in our bodies shifts. So I like to say we sprout our whiskers and strut our stuff.
Oh, no.
Many of us, that's what happens. And I did not have an immediate moment like so many of you did. Mine was kind of more gradual. But I'd spent 20 years as a career counselor and a job search specialist and outplacement consultant. And although I loved working one-on-one with people, I had been a caregiver so much of my life, rearing children, taking care of my elderly parents. And I decided that I wanted to explore more my creative side. So that's what led me to write the book, start the blog, start the radio show. So then it all blossomed like it has for you with Whoa. I am just meeting the most fantastic people. So it's a great time of life, I think.
Right.
I think it's funny, because what you said, I was thinking about that, about the testosterone. testosterone, because I felt the same way. And I'm thinking about all the women I know of this age. They're out there, they're doing things, they're so excited. And I'm thinking, I hardly know any men doing that. If anything, the men are drawing in, and they're like, you know, they're just becoming a little, and it's very obvious. I mean, it's just so clear. And also that women have now that lack of the distraction of having the kids at home, and it's, you know, this is one of the big misconceptions I think about the empty nest. Yeah, you miss the kids, but it frees you to focus and do things that you've always wanted to do, and you still have the energy and the desire, and now you have less fear of failure. I think you're just more able to try something and not worry what people will think, which is, I think, a great thing about I mean, it seems that it all comes together for many women at this age.
Right, and I think that whole sense of renewal and reinvention, it doesn't happen just in careers, but it happens in your family life. Often women, I find, get very more creative. They embrace their creativity, or they express this transition by volunteering and trying to do something that's for the greater good, for the good of our society. And it all seems to happen at right around the same time. What do you think, Anne?
Well, I was going to say, the other thing I think that is a component in this is not only our ages individually as we're passing into the next stage of life with more freedom and possibly more financial resources and certainly more wisdom and experience, but as a generation, I think we are all somehow, something's welling up that was so active and vibrant for us when we were in our late teens or early 20s during the height of the feminist movement, and we were going to college and choosing our majors and all of that, and really banding together, having rap sessions, marching on Washington, and all the things we were doing to change the world. And I think as a whole generation, that is just coming out in full force. Maybe it's the testosterone, I don't know, but it seems that we are all on this mission to totally connect and then do great things. And we feel free to do that now, and it's almost universal.
Right. There's something in the water, I think.
I think so.
Well, and for many boomers my age, I'm one of the first wave of boomers, and we grew up under a very different set of rules. So kind of, I think what we are doing is coming back to some of those dreams. We are recharging ourselves, like you said, Anne. And kind of, you know, we did what we had to do. We did what we were told to do. Now it's our time. And I think a lot of us feel that liberation, that freedom, what you've been talking about, as well as our generational prowess, we boomers.
Well, and I think that it is kind of surprising when you get to this age and you realize you have a lot of years ahead of you, and you feel good for the most part if you're lucky. And so they're really, even if you weren't raised, and I was raised too, I was raised sort of in that transitional period where you were expected to do one thing and then everything changed and the world opened up. But even if you were raised not thinking you could, when you sort of sit there at 60 and you think that you have another 20 years, why not try some of these things you never had the chance to do? So many women are trying to make something of hobbies or interests or things that they had interest in decades ago, and there's no reason not to try now. It's so inspiring, I think, to watch.
And it's interesting. I know for me, I knew it was bubbling in me for the last, 5 years. I knew that I needed to do something different. I needed to move on, and I really couldn't quite figure out what that was. I was working with a couple of my previous companies about launching something for women over 40 specifically, and I started to think about blogging and all these various outlets, and then we were talking about sliding doors where these opportunities and all these things, all these pieces fall into place to make it possible to actually take a step and things become more clear all of a sudden. So I was so incredibly determined that I was going to move on and not look back, and here we are.
I think the other thing that's happening too is, as in our age group, we're becoming a dominant force on the internet as well. And there are more, the average number of friends for women on Facebook is higher than the average number of men, friends for men. We spend more time on social media, and I think as a generation, that's kind of one of the missions that I have in my day job, separate from Women at Woodstock, is to bring other women who are boomer age and above up to speed with the internet, because it's such a power-making entity. And as we communicate more and more and become more savvy, not just Facebook, but other ways to, like what we're doing right now with this broadcast, we are going to be able to connect like never before. And once we do that, once we get up to speed technologically, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
I agree, and as you know, that's one of our real missions with what we're doing with WOA, which is all about connection and this uniting of this vast demographic that we have, which I think is just a sleeping giant. So,
and I do think it's true, Eileen. Maybe you could talk to this point too. I think it's true that there are many women at this point who aren't necessarily going to go into complete reinvention, and they're not going to go back and get their masters, and necessarily they like what they're doing right now, but they have to settle into a new way of being in their careers perhaps, and deal with the idea of working with multi-generational people, either as their bosses or as their colleagues, and sort of reposition themselves within the career that they already have.
I think you make a very good point. I think one of the things that you and I, Lynn, had discussed earlier, too, is there's a shift in values that takes place. A lot of times when we're younger, whether we're building a career or even building a home life, we tend to be more externally focused on our values, getting the this or the, say, the job title in a career or the career growth. When you reach your 50s and 60s, I think you want to become more in tune with who you really are, go back to that authentic self. So even if you might remain in a career, say, and learning to deal with generations, reporting to younger bosses, you're going to do it from a more authentic stance. I think we honor ourselves a lot more at this time in our life.
Right.
Also,
whoa, women honoring our age.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, and Anne was talking about how we're becoming more connected. I think sisterhood, it's always been there. I've always been very much a female friend. But now that I'm older and I'm not kind of vying for dates and all that stuff, I mean, my love of my fellow women is just exploding. I think we can have a just richer, really sustaining, self-supportive, relationships that mean a lot. So I think this is, like I say, a really great and vibrant time in our lives.
It is. It's about time, as Daryl and I say over and over to each other. So, well, this has been a pleasure. We are really looking forward to creating our show called Woe at Work. You will be able to see additional episodes. Eileen and I will be co-hosting these going forward. We have a lot of great plans, a lot of great topics and issues to discuss and guests to invite. So please join us at Woe at Work at the Woe Network. And ladies, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Whoa.
Thank you.
Whoa, thank you.
Whoa.